I'm ranaal-falaki.
I'm Patel.
And welcome to
the Nail It podcast.
This is your place to lead better, live fully, and laugh more. It's your blueprint to optimal performance. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nail It podcast, your place to
live fully, lead better, laugh more.
You got it in the wrong order, but I'll forgive you.
I said I was going to get a tattoo, don't I?
It's not as if we don't record this practically every week. I mean, seriously, it should be your tattoo, actually. Yes.
It's my mantra.
Yeah.
It's in the wrong order.
Yeah, that's what they're going to put on your gravestone, isn't it?
That's it, yeah.
Always remember you. And we have an amazing guest, Bav.
We do. Do you know, I've been looking forward to speaking to Payman. He's a busy man. We managed to nail him down and got him onto the podcast.
I know. So to introduce you to Payman Langroudi, some of you may already know because you've heard him be this incredible host to the Dental Leaders podcast. And of course, he is the clinical director at Enlighten as well. So we are truly honored, and he's a little bit nervous to actually be on the receiving end of a podcast.
Yeah, it's
true. Hi,
Payman. It's much harder on this end. Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, Payman. Do you know, I've heard your voice and heard you talking to people, asking them the questions.
Yeah.
And we're honored to have the opportunity to now put you on the other side and ask you the questions.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No worries.
Brilliant. So I'm really curious because I've had a lot of colleagues and friends who have been on your podcast. And I've always been, I'm always curious about when people start a podcast, and then particularly when it's about dental leaders. And I think really you were quite innovative in this before, because it's only in more recent years we're really starting to hear about the need for leadership in dentistry. So I'm curious what prompted you to start that podcast in the first place.
Listen, I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't a marketing thing to start with. We decided to go down a content-based approach to marketing when social really exploded. Really based on the fact that I felt like we didn't pay attention to the, Google AdWords and all of that. When that came along, we didn't go all in on it. So when social came along, we said we're going to go all in on it. And the idea with it was to have a content approach and not only talk about teeth whitening, not only talk about teeth, talk about people stuck to the teeth. And it's difficult as well because the team wants to sell a product, right? So I often get the question, where's the ROI on this podcast? And it started out like that with my good friend Prav Solanki. Then after a while, today it feels more like a hobby than anything else. I mean, of course, there are benefits to having a podcast that loads of dentists listen to from the business perspective, but I don't look at it from the business perspective anymore. I look at it as important conversations, and we've done 320 episodes or something, and 3 of our guests are now passed away, and to have those conversations on record for their families, and we're all going to pass away one day. I find, even though it's probably the thing that brings back the least for me in terms of ROI, it's the thing that I'm most proud of that I do, because it's real stories. It's not boxes of toothpaste or whatever.
That is awesome. I mean, it's probably the biggest podcast in UK dentistry, I'd say.
No, I'd say Jazz Gulati's.
Do you know, I've not listened. That's the protrusive one, right?
Yeah, great.
I've heard of that.
Great.
I've never listened to it. But so how many years have you been doing it?
Since before COVID, so maybe 6 years, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you know what, Rena? We forgot. We didn't ask him the first question we're supposed to ask him.
You see, you threw me off track, not remembering words. And then we just went everywhere. Oh, but wait, can we come back to it? Because I was about to ask you a question, because I don't want you to lose your flow, Payman. And it's like, where you talk about how it doesn't really necessarily get ROI, and yet it is something that for you're the most proud of. What comes to mind? I mean, of course, it's the Dental Leaders podcast, right? And of course, you're on the Nail It podcast, which is Nail It Leadership. And for me, that's the pinnacle of leadership, that peak of the triangle, which is true transcendence. And when everything goes beyond yourself, you're not just doing it for yourself, and you're doing it for others, and you're doing it for other people to grow as well and bring others with you, lift other people up with you, which for me, I truly see that as when you've really made it as a leader, you know, that's what you're ultimately aiming for. And to me, from what you said, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that, we're having a conversation, right? So when you have a conversation, you have to sort of put into words what's going through your head. But what's going through your head often are feelings. And for me, I've got maybe a bit of, I don't know, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, these days everyone's got something, right? But if it's something I really like, I'll stay up all night on it. But if it's something I don't really like, I will procrastinate like hell and be the laziest person in the world on it. And so, it's lucky that when you own a company, you can call the shots, right? You can say, my first meeting is at 10 o'clock. So I don't like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock meetings. I'll have meetings like now at 8 at night, no problem. But 8 in the morning, I don't. Just as one example. And so I've got an excellent set of partners who understand me and let me just do the things that I'm really good at and the things I really like doing, because I'm that kind of cat anyway. I end up, I'm a bit disorganized. You can buy me 100 diaries, I'll still be disorganized. And leaning into your strengths rather than your weaknesses, for me, it's been a massive revelation, because there's loads I'm really bad at.
But there's obviously things you're really good at. I mean, obviously we can come on to Enlighten as well. But I wasn't going to say this now, but when you first started Enlighten, you did that. I'm guessing, was that in your 20s?
Yeah, 28.
28 years ago. So
no, 28 years old, about 25 years ago.
You probably don't remember this, but you apparently turned up at my father-in-law's dental practice, and he still remembers you to this day. So apparently you cold called in Nottingham when you were first launching Enlighten, and he fondly remembers you, and he actually still says, do you know what? He came to my practice, and do you know what? You stuck in his mind. So you left a really good example of my father-in-law.
What's his name? What's his name?
His name was Diru.
Diru Patel.
Toza.
Toza.
Yeah, it was in Nottingham City Centre, but
I remember one of our earliest users.
It just goes to show that you obviously, there was something that you wanted to get out there, and you put in the work that 28 years ago. And at that time, cosmetic dentistry was sort of taking off in the UK, I guess. What made you start that? Why did you want to leave dentistry and start a company?
You know how these things work out, Bath. Yeah, it wasn't a decision to leave dentistry. That wasn't what I wanted to do. We started out. We were 28 years old. When I started the company with the guys I used to live with in university, and my wife, my now wife, my then girlfriend. So the four of us, the two guys I used to live with, and my wife, and we just wanted to do something a bit different. And when you get to that point of you're going to start a practice, and we were going to start practices, we were going to do 4 practices because there's 4 of us, and they were going to be teeth whitening centers. That they basically, the idea was, these city boys would come in, have their teeth whitened, have a clean, have their teeth flossed, and that's all we do. We don't do anything else. Like super special. I don't know. Do you know the place Entrecôte, the steak place?
Yep.
There's only one thing on the menu, right? A steak.
Right.
And the only choice you've got is, medium or rare or well done. You can't even say medium rare. And that's the only choice you've got. They do it very well. They've got their special sauce, whatever. And that was that idea of do one thing very well.
Right.
And you go around so many places and so much stuff is rubbish. Like it needs to be improved. And you think, people, if they focused in on just the one thing, if you had the best pizza in Norwich, yeah, the best cheese and tomato pizza in Norwich, you'd have a great business.
Yeah.
Or then you spread it out. You say, I want to be the best dentist in this practice. I want to be the best dentist in this town, maybe the best dentist in the country. And then I've got Dipesh Palmer, who I work with on the composite course. Once in a generation talent. I mean, I do come across them, but once in a generation, literally like that. And sometimes the guy gets depressed when some kid in Brazil does something better than him, because he wants to be the best in the world.
Wow.
And each of these comes with sacrifice, right? It all
Right.
sounds great, but it comes with massive sacrifice. And
Yeah.
now with Enlighten, we say we want to be the best teeth whitening system in the world.
Yeah.
And it comes with massive sacrifice, all sorts of sacrifices that you have to make to do that.
Hmm.
What sacrifices? Because again, this is another leadership issue, as we always say, ultimately there are sacrifices so that you can pursue something else. So what sacrifices?
Well, from the Enlightened perspective, there's just product market fit kind of sacrifices, right? You want to be the best in the world. You can't be the cheapest in the world, so then, you can't be both of those things. And then you get people who worry about, price, for instance, just as a basic example. But, you have to obsess over details to make things correct. And that takes extra people and it costs more. And we take the gel from the factory all the way to the patient in a maximum of 6 weeks, a maximum. So it's all flown over in refrigerated planes, refrigerated trucks. It only sits in the patient dentist practice for one night, because we know the date that we give the dentist the date that it's going to arrive at their practice, and they book the patient in after that. So it hasn't broken down, it hasn't become acidic. All of that takes a lot of work, a lot of hassle, a lot of sacrifice. We throw away loads of gel because it gets past the we've decided not to keep it more than 1 month at the absolute maximum. The alternative is that we get results that aren't as good, and then sometimes these goals tend to go over each other. So we said, oh, we want to be more green, so we reduced the plastic in the kit by 80%. But then that increased our carbon footprint, doubled our carbon footprint just by doing that. You're going to throw away gel. That's not a very green thing to do.
No.
So these goals, different goals that you have, get in each other's way. But at the end of the day, I think the supply business is difficult. It's not easy at all. Much harder than being a dentist. Much harder. Your patients trust you intrinsically. By sitting in your chair, they trust you. Whereas us as dentists, we've been trained not to trust. That's our whole training is. Where's the evidence? And it's quite right, isn't it? You're not going to believe everything you're in perio runner. The number of things you've seen come and go that promised, the earth. And in the end, perio seems to be about the same thing it was 25 years ago when I qualified.
Well, I pushed the boundaries, right? I was that person who wanted to be the best, and I became that and became the global pioneer for the use of lasers in perio. And
Did you?
I had to stand in front of British Society of Perio, American Academy of Perio, European Federation of Perio, talking about lasers when everybody's sitting there saying, oh, there's no evidence, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. And there I am doing research and publishing papers and showing, but I'm showing you bone regeneration. I'm showing you better patient-centered outcomes. I'm showing you flapless surgery. So sometimes it comes from needing to push the boundaries and truly have a deep, deep belief in what it is you want, what it is you stand for, and what it is you can provide, which by the sounds of it is definitely an underlying aspect with Enlighten as well, because you have to have that deeper purpose to keep going in your profession. I keep going for nearly 30 years, and yet I still love doing what I do. And so there is a reason for that, and it is because I get to be the best I can possibly be.
I mean, the other thing is, it's a decision that you make, and we were number two in terms of product for the first 5-6 years, and it was terrible. It's horrible being number two. The competitor had a better product, better looking product, more expensive product. Everything about it was better. I don't know if you remember. There was a product we started out with light activated whitening. There was a product called Bright Smile. And this was all sort of 4 or 5 years before the Zoom light came along. And Bright Smile was, was properly funded. They'd raised like $100 million. They'd gone and had one of these design firms make a beautiful roboty thing. And at the time, we had this sort of vacuum cleaner looking thing, it's like a cheap copy. And then when it turned out that we found out lights do nothing, at the time we thought they did, right? The Bright Smile had publications of 30 publications on why the light was okay. Then when we came to switch, and we had to switch, Zoom had come along by that time, we decided to go into tray whitening. And I sat down with my partner Sanj, who's one of these guys. He's just like he's a perfectionist. Like he doesn't mind if something goes wrong, but he never wants it to happen again. And he'll literally change everything based on one incident. And he said, "Look, I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what it takes. We have to have the best tray system." So we worked on that for about 2 years, and broke it down into what is it? What is tray whitening? At the end of the day, it's the gel, the tray, the impression, desensitizers, those four things, and incrementally improving each of those parts, and those incremental improvements in the end get you better results.
We're getting a real insight into your personality and
really
that's how you obsess over these things, and it's amazing. That's what drives you. Well, why don't we go back to your favorite quote then? Maybe that gives a little bit more insight into what you're about, Payman.
I really like the Oscar Wilde quotes, and I brought them up, and it's amazing the number of them that are actually in the vernacular now, just like part of the language. And I was looking through quotes, and the Oscar Wilde ones, almost the whole page was delicious. But out of the ones I've
got to narrow it down to the best one, Payman.
I think that from my childhood, be yourself, everyone else has already taken.
Yeah.
Because you do spend a lot of your early years trying to emulate other people until you find yourself. I guess some people find themselves quite early. But when you realize that being yourself is the key, it really does. It's really empowering. But knows the price of everything, the value of nothing. That's one of his. We're all in the gutter. Some of us are looking at the stars. So many beautiful things. A man wants to be the woman's first love. The woman likes to be the man's last romance. It's actually part of the vernacular now.
The first one you said was "Be yourself, everyone else is taken," right?
Yeah.
But as you quite rightly say, it takes quite a few number of years. It's one of those things. As in your teens, you want to fit in, you want to be like everybody else. In your 20s, you want to impress everyone else and be the person that everyone looks to. Usually most people don't do that till quite late on, and then it's like as you get older, you just realize actually, you don't. Nothing really matters as much as you think it does. You go round in your head. And there was a saying, I think Sahil Bloom's book, about you are not as important as you think you are to other people. People don't think about you as much as you think about yourself. And until you realize that, it takes a lot. It takes you to get quite old to actually understand that.
Yeah, it's really empowering too, isn't it? That you don't have to try anything. At the same time, I still think you're always trying to be someone else, isn't it? Because I don't know, one night get completely drunk or something, and another person comes out.
Yeah.
There are inhibitory mechanisms at play the whole time, right?
I think we're going to have to take him out for a drink, Bev, when you find out.
Always up for that, Payman. Always up for that.
I don't know about you guys. I bet Rand was a swat, but I wasn't, right? At dental school.
Can you not tell with all the books? Look at all our books.
Yeah, no, I could tell.
Look at our backgrounds.
Girly swat, man. But in dental school, I was the crammer guy, and we found this stuff that was for bodybuilders. It was like some sort of protein powder, but it had something in it that kept you awake all night.
Right.
So we stayed awake 48 hours, went through 2 exams, and then I was in this oral surgery exam. And it was like something like, what's the differential diagnosis of a swelling on the palate or something? And I was writing garbage, actual garbage, but I couldn't stop myself. And I really realized that inhibitory mechanism thing. But there's all sorts of thoughts. Sometimes you're driving your car, you think I'll just drive over the cliff, but then something stops you. Something stops you from doing that. Those inhibitory mechanisms kick in. And on our podcast, I do one with Rona on mental health, and we asked this question of why is it the dentists take their own lives? And in that moment, something inhibitory doesn't kick in, I guess. I mean, we'll talk about why later, but in the moment of doing it, something doesn't kick in. And, a lot of people who are depressed or whatever haven't had any sleep. And having had no sleep for 48 hours those 2 days, I realized I was writing like actual crap. I was saying, yeah, you could bite into a pizza and it could burn your, like not even using medical terms. I knew it was incorrect, but I just couldn't stop. So,
Wow.
Who is the real you? Who knows?
So some of this goes into kind of self-destruct. And I mean, Bhavin came back and said, actually, it takes quite a long time. And you seem to think it didn't, but it does. It takes a lot of maturity and a lot of growth and a lot of self-awareness to really not just believe, but resonate with that, be yourself because everybody else is taken. There's a big thing. And, when I do a lot of work with people in their 40s and their 50s, we realize that so much of it is actually about identity, because you've spent so long with the label of a dentist, a business owner, a mother, a father, a parent, a daughter, a son, a niece, a nephew. And actually, who are you really at your core? I mean, for me, that's what Nail It encompasses, because you have to go back to being your true self. You have to be prepared to shed all of the layers of everything that you've accumulated, and that's the only way you actually set yourself free. So it's not, and we do see, like, when some people get a lot older, right, they don't tend to care what other people think, and they voice things a little bit more. But I think particularly in a profession and in dentistry, and this idea of needing to behave a certain way, it really does create incredible limits. It creates anxiety, it creates depression, it removes you from being truly authentic, and from actually, it puts a cap on your success, however you want to define success.
Yeah. Although on the other hand, dentistry does sort of lend itself to sort of being the king of your own kingdom as well. A dental practice is it's I would define it as a very large small business. It's a small business, and you can totally call the shots in that small business. And in a way, it can be an expression of yourself. And I do see it. I go into thousands of practice. I must have been to thousands of practices. And sometimes you're in some little town and you've got this super happy guy who loves coming to work, loves his team, loves his patients, and is basically finding it, at the end of the day, keep your patients happy, keep your staff happy. It's basically all of dentistry, right? Do the teeth, right? do the teeth well, but keep those two constituents happy, and you see people pulling it off and being the kings of their little kingdom, and actually being themselves. And it's so interesting, from the outside, you might imagine dentists and dental practices are all the same, but boy, are they not. I mean, totally different things I see in practices.
And yet we have massive burnout rates. We have a huge rates of burnout, depression, suicide, you touched on, mental health issues. So there are a lot of people out there who are really
Have you thought about this, Ron? I've looked into it about why dentists take their own lives, because me and Rona interviewed loads of people, read a load of stuff. Turns out dentists have been taking their own lives for 100 years. It's not the GDC.
No.
It's one thing I thought about is I've got a cousin. He's a eye surgeon, and he was telling me if he has a day of operations LA or a day of GA, the LA days are twice as stressful because you've got a patient there, right? And you're sticking an injection in his eye now, so it's similar to our situation. Nervous live patient all day, every day is a level of stress, or an amount your bucket is going to get filled. And then layer on that, let's say your relationship with your nurse isn't as good as it could be. Now you've got someone in the room with you all day, and now that's extra stress in the bucket. Layer on that, much of our work fails. People come back with, so your self-worth goes down a little bit. But we don't have the answer. We don't have the actual answer. We didn't have it. Did you guys have a look at that or think about that?
Well, I know, like, my own experience of contemplating it, but the inhibitory bit definitely in. But there have been moments, because it's almost just
the dark days.
Dark days. There are days when I feel like I don't even want to be on this earth. It suddenly feels too painful. And there have been times of, complete decision fatigue where you just shut down. And you're right, it's not just the GDC, but it's suddenly an inability to just cope, and these thoughts that wouldn't it just be easier to just not be here? The inhibition for me was like, yeah, okay, hang on, Rana, you've got kids, don't be so stupid. And then you kick back in again, and there has to be a way. But there are some people who don't have that level of resilience. And usually they do. For the first thing they do is, once they make a plan, you usually see they're much calmer. And you've got to watch out for your friends if they've been really depressed, because the minute they seem to perk up, that's actually the danger point. Because usually at that point they've made a plan, and once they've made a plan, they feel better. And then they execute the plan.
Wow. We've gone down a path.
Yeah, it's and it's tough, I'm sure we've all lost people through, in the profession, and it's it's incredibly sad. And it's not the dentistry. Like you say, it's not our care for our patients, but it becomes a massive accumulation. And that's where, Payman, I think we do get back to labels, because we get back to the huge burden and responsibility of owning a practice, needing to make the numbers stack up, having piles and piles and piles of more responsibility laid on you, be it through regulation or taxation, remuneration, and all these things, where every time you feel like you're taking one step forward and two steps back. And I know so many practice owners who feel that, and they love the dentistry, they just feel out of control.
Yeah, Rana, but dentistry business is I mean, the word easy is sort of misleading, but it's an easier business to thrive in than a pizza shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the pizza shop guy's got taxation, he's got remuneration, he's got all the issues that the dentist has got. Yeah. And yet the pizza shop guy isn't killing himself, and the dentist is. And then you go the other way and say, oh, it's really intricate, high stress work. The brain surgeon isn't taking his life as much as the dentist is.
But the brain surgeon isn't running the business. The brain surgeon is getting on with brain surgery. The problem is the dentist
every single business
running
owner,
the business, like the pizza guy is making the pizza or employing the staff.
Or okay, the accountant is running. The accountant's running the business. The lawyer's running the business. These guys aren't taking their own lives as much as dentists.
I think it's something to do with the energy as well, though, right? Because you take on so much of an emotional drain when patients come in to step into your room.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not being you, right? You're an actor or an actress, right? And you have got to put on this happy face, even though inside you may not be happy.
You're absolutely right.
And
absolutely.
that has got to take its toll, day after day, patient after patient.
So that thing you're talking about of sort of being on stage, if you like. And in my life, I've done things like be a dental rep. Yeah, when we started the company, we didn't have anyone. The internet didn't really exist. Yeah, so someone would call up from wherever.
Yeah.
Ipswich. I'd have to get in my car, work out there was no Google
Maps. Like you said, yeah, you turned up at my father-in-law's, didn't you?
Yeah. I'd have to get up and get in my car and go there. And believe you me, that's a much harder life than being a dentist. Yeah, being a dental rep. But on this question of how long are you on show, you're on show for about an hour or two a day.
This is it.
If you're, I guess, maybe I wasn't a very good dental rep. Some of them, maybe like 3 hours a day at the very most. Now it's bloody hard, right? You've got to wake up at 5 a.m., drive, find your way there, sell to the guy, come back, all those things. But you're not on show all that time. And being on show does take it out of you, no doubt.
Yeah. But also you're inflicting pain on people. They're anxious. They're not them, and there's no nice way of doing what we do sometimes, but I try to make it into as humorous as I can be, and try to make it a pleasant experience for my patients. But at the end of the day, we're working in a very sensitive area, and we're putting them in very vulnerable positions. And
by the way, loads of dentists love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love the profession, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this. Is that we do love the profession. We want it to be great again, and we want people to find the joy in what they do.
Make dentistry great again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get the hat. We've already got the hats ordered, haven't we, right now?
Well, make it greater, right? I mean, I went into dentistry with this idea. I wanted to be a dentist who people weren't scared of. That was kind of my challenge at the time when I went into dentistry. And we had literally 39 of us at the London in our year group. It was tiny, and only 6 of us had actually chosen to do dentistry first and foremost. The rest were still in the days of failed medics.
Really?
They all changed their minds after med surg and doing ward rounds. They were like, actually, I'm really glad we're doing
Yeah.
dentistry.
You've both got kids, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And would you tell your kids to become dentists?
I would. I would. My wife wouldn't. I would.
Is she a dentist too?
She is. She is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rana, are you?
my ex-husband is a dentist, but we would not, neither of us would be particularly keen on
I
that.
definitely would. I think it's a great profession.
Well, after everything it's given you, Rana, like being a world leader, written books or whatever, like
Yeah,
taught
yeah.
people, you still
But
wouldn't give that opportunity to your kid.
it's not about giving the opportunity. They also see how hard you talked about sacrifices, right? You
Hmm.
talked about sacrifices, and it's not a job that it's not. I mean, no job is necessarily easy, but it's not one of those jobs that it takes really hard work to get the rewards that you truly want. And so I have made a
But
lot of
but Rana, come on,
sacrifices.
if I don't know, let's just throw a number out, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's say in your specialist practice you were pulling out £300,000 a year for the sake of the argument, yeah.
right.
In any job earning you £300,000 a year, to destroy
It's
you.
going to
I
be
mean,
some
if
stress.
you were a lawyer, if you were a banker, if you were if by the way, if you said I want to do it in another field like I don't know, marketing or something, you'd have to be head of marketing at Procter and Gamble or something, yeah, not some dentist in Brighton, yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. That what you're saying there, the return for the
Yeah.
work, the amount
No,
in for
no,
what.
so I'm not just talking about the money. I'm just saying the life that you want, you have to work really hard. And for me, I've made a huge amount of sacrifice. And I sacrificed myself to the point where I became chronically ill. So that was
Mm,
for me, that was my turnaround. That was my inspiration for then developing Nail It to be able to optimize your energy so that you can really thrive with what you want to do. But my kids have seen that, they've witnessed that, and they're going to put labels on that of, they see me jet setting off around the world and not being necessarily being around for them when they were younger because I was invited here, there, and everywhere to speak, and they want me around. So I think they're inspired by a very hardworking mother, but at the same time, I just think they feel they want an easier life.
Yeah. And I recognized that early on. So I sold my practice 3, 4 years ago. So I had a
oh, did
practice
you?
in Wimpole Street, right? For about 8 years, 7, 8 years. Yeah,
Mm,
sold that 3 years ago purely because my children are 6 and 8, and I want to be present. I want to drop them to school. I want to pick them up. I don't want to be stressing about the practice on weekends. So I made that choice. And exactly as you say, Payman, dentistry's given me that opportunity to be able to make that choice, right? There's not many jobs that you could say, do you know what? I don't want to work on Mondays. I don't want to work on Fridays. I want to work, as you quite rightly say, I'm not a morning person. I'd love to start at 10, but we can do that. That's the
mm,
beauty of our job and our profession. And that's the reason why I'd always sort of stick up for it and go, do you know what? It's a great profession to be in, but it's finding that work-life harmony. I know me and Ren have spoken about this quite a lot. It's just finding that, I don't want to say the word balance, but you know what I mean. It's the
yeah.
finding that sweet spot, let's say.
I mean, my son just started aerospace engineering his first year, and we found out it's all defense. Like my maybe 5% of it is Formula One cars and things. 95% of it is defense, missiles, landing systems, like planes, like helmets that shoot things. And okay, all well and good. You need aerospace engineers in the world. And then we looked at the salaries, the starting salaries and how quickly does it go up? And it basically doesn't. It's awful. Like it takes 10 years to get to, I don't know, 60 grand salary or something. So he said, all right, yeah, I'm obviously not going to do that. So what am I going to do? So now he's saying, oh, maybe I might do a startup. I might go into finance, and it's all a bit in the air. And my daughter, um, she's a bit easier to manipulate. And so she's more like path of least resistance. And my wife's a dentist, works 1.5 days a week, and she's now said, maybe I want to be a dentist. And I'm happy for her, especially as a girl who can stop, start, do 2 days, do 5 days. I mean, Rana, do you think that that question of wanting it all was the problem?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. It's
you
not
want to
just
be
in
the
dentistry.
perfect wife,
It was
mother,
it was my
international lecturer.
personality.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. It's the bit you touched on of perfectionism, which actually is very high rates of that in dentistry, right?
true.
I had to be the best. I couldn't be
Hmm.
mediocre. Good enough was not good enough. Everything had to be like as good as it could possibly be. So I had to be the best practice owner, the best friend, the best mother, the best lecturer, the best researcher. And eventually, you have to, something has to give, right? So absolutely, it's partly a personality thing, and
That's one of the things that we obviously sort of teach and sort of do the assessments on is you've got to discover yourself and know what your drivers are before you can help other people, right? So you've got to know yourself, and it goes back to your quote. It's gone full circle. Is that to understand yourself, it takes time, and like I say, everyone else is taken. So look, I'm quite mindful of the time. So shall we move on to your favorite pillar then of the Nail It system, Payment? Because I'm sure Ren has already got you
I
tagged on.
better write it down. Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them. I like them. The one I like the most is intuition, and not because I've got this
You didn't
brilliant.
write that. Did you write
Did you?
that?
Did you write
Just
that?
write it down. Integrity.
Yeah, but well, no, I did. I looked at integrity first,
Yeah.
yeah, because I like integrity, and I like your definition of integrity quite a lot. But in the end, I picked intuition,
Oh.
because, and not because I've got a brilliant instinct. Actually, quite the opposite. In so much as I spent the first half of my life almost ignoring my intuition, thinking, "Oh no, that's all bollocks." Are we allowed to swear? That's all not scientific. Yeah, and I almost used to go against my intuition just to prove to myself that I'm like this logical scientist. And then the second half, I suddenly realized that all these successful people saying things like, "Oh, it just felt wrong, and I could feel it in my tummy, in my stomach," and I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, I've been making this mistake all these years. And now I do trust my instincts a lot more. And the other thing is I really like sort of look up to people who trust their instincts because they had it all along. And my business partner is funny, he'll make a decision, he can't tell you why he doesn't like that person or that idea, but he's so sure about it. And it used to drive me crazy, but now I've kind of changed. And because, it's again like a bit like that be yourself thing. Once you learn something and then you change direction as an adult, it really does feel really good. So yeah, that's the one I like the most.
I love that. So that's the North Star Navigator. So it's four components. So one is about silence because we really do need to quieten ourselves enough. So no distractions. No, we get exposed to hundreds of millions of bits of information per second. So you really do need to silence it. That's why actually people's intuition generally does tap in the most when they're in the shower or when they're driving.
Mm.
Because and there's scientific fact to that, and they've done studies around that to show that if you're mildly distracted with an activity but silenced, then that's when your intuition comes in. And the other bit is what you touched on, which is really about trust, really needing to trust that this is truly an intuition and trust yourself. We're back, as Bhavin said, to being able to be yourself. So trust what's right for you. The A from the star stands for attachment. So you need to have that connection. So you need to have that connection to yourself, to believe in yourself. And then, of course, recognition. Recognizing very much if it's a fear, if it's a logical belief overriding it, and when the procrastination bit suggests sometimes you get in your head, or if it truly is an intuition. So we usually encourage, like, if you're starting out on intuition, just start off with a little intuition journal and just start off sort of taking the actions about things you think are intuitions and write down for yourself to reflect what's working and what isn't until you then learn to recognize. So that's like a little tip. But yeah, I love intuition. It's such a powerful element of leadership that's being recognized more and more nowadays. And you can train it. Don't just have to be female to have good intuition.
I like that you can train it. It feels like that. It
Very
feels
much
like
so.
that.
Very much so. Payman, we have loved having you on. Definitely there's no holds barred with you, that's for sure.
That was a bit of a roller coaster, wasn't it? Good.
Yeah. So it's lovely to see you on the other side. So you
Yeah.
How was it for you?
It was okay once I got going. Yeah.
You go all right once you got going. Oh, thank you
It's
for being
funny, you catastrophize things, don't you?
Yes, exactly. You've got to get rid of those limiting beliefs. So
We need to do a part 2, Payman. We'll do a part 2, mate.
Yeah, anytime you like, man.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to have you.
Lovely to meet you guys.
Thank you, Payman.
Thanks.
So, Bav,
Yeah.
what do you reckon?
Payman, do you know what? He's such a true-born leader, and he's you can tell he's a perfectionist, and that's why Enlighten have done so well, I think, and his podcast has done so well. But I don't know if you realised halfway through, you do realise he's such a good podcaster that he actually turned into a podcaster, and he was interviewing us. You do realise that for half of that. So I think that was his defence. Is that his defence was attack. So he just naturally went back to his podcasting mode. So which is great. We don't mind. We'll be on the other side.
We love to talk.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what? I think he's the sort of person you could talk to for hours, couldn't you?
Absolutely. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Nail It podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening, guys. See you later.
Thanks for listening to the Nail It podcast. We would love it if you would leave us a 5-star review, and if you'd like to feature as one of our guests, or you're ready to nail it, then check out our events, programs and educational courses by visiting nailitindentistry.com.